And the green light lit up the ground so much that the next thing I saw were two beings, and they looked like our shape. They looked just like men in white wetsuits.
Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you want to support the show in a different way, right now you're probably at home or working from home or a combination of the two. You should have a virtual private network. Again, this is something that all professionals have. Anybody that's on their computer a lot should have. You can go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. All right, Pamela, you're live.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. Hi. Hi, Mark.
Hi, how are you doing, Pamela?
I'm doing well. How about you? I'm very nervous. Very, very nervous.
Oh, don't be. It's just me and you on a phone call. So what did you see? Did you see something special? You saw something in the sky?
Oh, yes. It was years and years ago, and it was about 4 a.m, and I lived in Veneta, Oregon, and we had just bought a double-wide mobile home, and we had it put on a cliff out there. There was a covered bridge to get there. We were out in the boondocks, and I had a window facing across a dirt road, and then there was another mountain right across there, and there was another cliff, and another mobile home was a single wide across the street. And then picture like fir trees all the way down the side of it, and then an area that was flat. That's all I know how to explain it. And it was 4 a.m. and I got up to nurse my baby, and I saw these lights. I saw panning lights, and I thought there was a car wreck over there or something. I didn't know. And it lit up, though, the whole sky, like those lights that you see, to advertise and stuff like that. And so I looked really close, and it looked like two headlights that were close together, and they were panning the whole sky. It just going around very slowly around, lighting up the whole country, the whole area. So I run into the buffet, and I grab my 10 power scope, put my baby down, and I look out of this 10 power scope, and what I saw was unreal. It was a UFO. It looked like a flat bell in the sky. It was hovering probably about 20 feet off the ground when I first saw it. And it pulsated like it was electrical or something, like you could almost see through it. You know what I mean? It was but it wasn't bright. It was like gold light, but it was like the metal just turned into electricity or something. And it shot a silhouette of probably about 12 feet up in the air of gold light. And it pulsated and it hovered. And I could see the shape. I could see how big it was. And I was like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then those two beam lights, they were in the middle of it, like if you had a squash bell, and it was in the middle part of it. And they panned together all the way behind it, around, and came around the whole thing. And so it was lighting it up, and then it would go away, and I would see these. And then finally, it quit pulsating and turned to like metal. You could tell it was metal. And then what I saw was my husband was cussing at me, mad at me, because I'm looking out the window at 4 a.m. with a telescope. And he gets mad, he wakes up, and I hand him the telescope, and he just sat there with his mouth open. He saw it too. And I was like, I got the telescope back. When I got the telescope back from him, he kind of fell on the bed. He was in shock. And I took the telescope, and there was a green beam coming out of the bottom of this thing, lighting up the whole ground. And it was like real short grass over there. That's all I know. And a couple bushes, like a few bushes. And the green light lit up the ground so much that the next thing I saw were two beings. And they looked like our shape. They looked just like men in white wetsuits. That's the only way I know how to, or women. And it had like a oval, maybe face shield on the front of the real tight, kind of cream colored wetsuits. There were two men or two women or whatever, but looked like men. And they were in proportion. But here's the one thing that stood out. They were bending over. I saw them on the ground. I didn't see them crawl out. I saw them there. And one was bending over, and it was like in slow motion. You know, like our moonshot. It's like they were just moving in very, very slow motion. And they were bending over this area where there was a small bushes. So anyway, also there was a sonar sound coming out from out there across the street. So I called my neighbor, which is across the street right by it. And they had this line of fir trees blocking their view. And she said, what is going on? It's lighting up our whole place. My husband's going crazy. He's got the binoculars. He's blinded. We're blinded in here. And I didn't know him very well. And I'm like, well, if you saw what I saw over here from my angle, you would know. And I was scared to tell her. And I said, you're not going to believe what we're looking at. And she said that, she goes, what is it? It's so light. We're blinded. And I told her, and I got off the phone, and I was so afraid of being, like somebody that was, crazy or something. I didn't want to tell anybody. And my husband was going to work the next morning, and he's like, a few hours later. And I said, don't tell anybody. He went to work and told everybody. So here comes car after car up there on the mountain. And these guys walked up looking for this thing. And the sheriff was the guy we rented the land from. And he's like, Pam, what's going on? And I said, sorry.
All right, let's get on.
I said, you wouldn't believe it. And he said, no, try me. What is going on? Why are all these guys scouring the mountain right there? And it was only like maybe 200 feet, away where I saw it. And maybe 3, I don't know, I'm not good at that, but pretty close. And he said, what did you see? And I said, you won't believe it. And I told Sheriff Hartwig at the time, and he goes, oh, yeah. He said, they're here all the time. And I said, what? He said, yeah, the lady down the road, her pasture has them in it all the time. And so all I know is I saw what I saw. They moved really slow. They looked like human form.
How tall? How
they
tall?
were average, I would say 6 foot men. Like they weren't, they were in proportion. That's all I know. Their arm length, the legs. It looked like 2 men getting out of the, river or ocean with a wetsuit on. And when I told Sheriff, he said, Pam, where did you see it? And I said, right there. And I pointed across the little road. It was just almost like a one-way dirt road over the cliff from me. We had a short front yard and then this real long side yard. And my 3-year-old, she was in her bedroom. And I saw a green beam come from that UFO into our backyard by her window. And the next morning, that night, she came into our bedroom later, and she said, Mama, eyes, Mama, eyes. And I had made her curtains and put them like maybe 8 inches down from the top of the window so the sun could come in and whatnot. And she was terrified to sleep in her room after that night. She kept pointing at the window going, eyes, Mama, eyes. And so when I talked to the sheriff, and he was our neighbor actually on down on another hill, he goes, Pam, where? And I pointed at the area. It was open right there, and then he said, there's missiles there. That's what he told me. He said, that's a missile site.
Okay, the one question I had is, what was over there, the 200 feet over? What did you think they were bending over at? Is there animals? Oh man, that's a trip.
Well, that green light coming out from underneath it, it's hovering, right? It's hovering maybe, I would say 10 feet, 12 feet off the ground. And then there was this green beam coming down as the other lights were panning the whole area, lighting up for miles. You know those lights for car sales and stuff, those great big ones that go up into the sky? I don't know what it's called.
Spotlights.
But those were pardon?
Yeah, spotlights, something like that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like that. They pictured 2 big ones rotating together around the circumference of the middle of this flat belt. That's what it looked like. And it shot underneath was a green light that lit up the ground. Do you know what I mean? Like it lit up. And then I saw it beam over to our place, just from the UFO thing to our back side yard. And that's where my little girl said, my eyes, Mama. And she didn't want to sleep there. We moved out of there.
What state was this in?
In Oregon, in Bonita, Oregon, out in the woods. There's a covered bridge we had to cross to get in there. Yeah.
So there's a lot of sightings.
Out in the boonies.
Out in the boonies in Washington, we have some of the most insane. I lived in Black Diamond for a while, and in Black Diamond, I'll just tell you just real quick. Mine, Black Diamond. You know those solar lights, the little stakes you can buy for $10 to put in on pathways.
Yeah,
they're just like LED lights that are solar powered. We had about 12 or 13 of those lined up in the backyard and along the path out to the fire pit. And we saw this light through the 2 trees, and the outlight light was buzzing and going more bright and more brighter. The neighbors had an RV parked right next to it, which nobody was in. They just had it parked, and they would, would have guests stay in there, and that ended up, the light kept pulsating, and then all 13 of the lights started going bright. They just got super, super bright, and we felt like there was something above us. Your story is really freaky, because what year was that? Do you know, or how long ago was that?
I'm 68. This was in 1974, because Stephanie, my daughter, was born then, and she was like 4 months old. I was nursing her when this all happened. And we had a great big window in our bedroom, and we had a private pretty much. And the other people were Jehovah's Witnesses that kind of lived in this single wide. I didn't know him, but I had her phone number. And then the sheriff, which we rented our land from, we had a double wide we bought and hauled up on this mountain edge. We opened our back door patio, and you had 4 feet, and you had a mountain behind us. So we had just all front yard and side yard up there. You see what I mean? A huge one up there. And then there was this cliff, probably maybe 12, 14 feet down, and there was a dirt road, and then there was another cliff across that, and then that flat area, the row of, if you could picture, like fir trees just lined all the way up it, and then a mobile home on the other side of that flat area there where he said the missile sites were for Oregon. So here it gets even weirder. So now I'm really paranoid. I've got all these people. The sheriff's telling me, Pam, this is normal. The pasture down the road, I guess they landed in there all the time. He gave me the lady's name. But what happened was after that, I started looking in the sky all the time. But what was really funny is there was a sonar sound. You know how a sonar over water that makes that sound?
The pinging noise?
We
Ting,
could hear that.
Ping.
We could hear it. And then it disappeared. I don't know. I ran in to call the university. I was so freaked out, I guess, that morning, a few hours later, we watched it. I don't know what they were looking at. That's why the sheriff said, I wonder if they were examining our missile site.
Somebody says, Dirk Diggler says, by the way, Dirk Diggler says, I know exactly where she's talking about. The sheriff's kid owns that land now. That would be weird if they did. And Oregon, honestly, some of the small places in Oregon, which we have a lot of people from, especially because of the Cascadia Subduction Zone stuff I've covered, we have a lot of people from Washington, Oregon, and California. So, again, thank you for your story. You should write all of that down and document it before. I mean, it's 74 to 2004. That's 30 years. You're looking at 40 years. You're looking over 4 decades later, and that's how you know it really stuck out to you, because you remember all these details after 40 years. That's unbelievable.
Well, it's because I had a new baby, and I was up at 4 a.m. I saw it. I talked to people. I tried to keep it to myself, but I was also so stupid back then. I was like calling the university, and I'm like, I need a 250 power scope. What are you looking at? Oh, I don't want to tell you. I want to borrow your scope.
Oh, no. Back then, people would have thought you were crazy. And again, somebody else, Sunny Beach Girl, says, the sheriff's son owns that land now. Small world. That's weird. That's crazy. Wow. I know. And somebody, Newberry says they can visualize the whole thing.
I can never figure out why they were going in slow motion. That's the part I can't figure out. Because they were moving like we move on the moon. All right. Or else wanting us to think it. And I've often thought, were these Russian people coming over to check our stuff and pretending to move in slow motion, or what? You know what I mean? So I just kind of kept it to myself, but they're real. I saw it. I saw it pulsate into electricity. I looked at it so close. I thought I was gonna be able to see into that shape. And it pulsated until it stopped and turned metal. Then it was a form. I can't even explain it.
Well, ma'am,
I can't even.
Absolutely amazing story. Again, I understand the importance of that. Pamela, thank you so much for calling tonight. We've got callers right after you, but thank you so much. Again, I appreciate your call, and you have a great night, and thanks for sharing with all of us.
You have a great night.
All right, you too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow, that's incredible. That's unbelievable. I mean, I believe her, though. That's what's crazy. Wow. Either way, if you want to protect yourself, I highly, highly recommend, if you guys have not already, to check out an EMP shield. Again, with everything happening right now, including we are currently still feeling the effects on here on Earth about the CME that just followed a solar flare. You can actually protect your devices and protect your home and protect your generator with an EMP shield. This is the same company that is not only mentioned by the DHS EMP resilience report, but not only DHS, DOD, and now the DEMSO team officially has EMP shield helping them protect their grid. It protects against all three phases of an EMP, so of course the man-made kind, and then of course it also prepares you against a solar flare up to 228,000 amps. It also protects you against lightning, which means if you've ever known anybody that has had their house struck by lightning, it can be a very costly deductible if you have house insurance, which, can be $1,500 itself. So you can save money in the end, or even save a life if we ever have one of these. It's better to be prepared than not be, especially right now with more threats than ever. It's 100% American made. It's a veteran-owned business. They're bringing in tons of jobs since they got a huge contract with the government, and they are still selling to civilians for the time being. So make sure to get over there, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use our code. Again, if you use that link, it will all be done for you, but you will actually save $50 off per device, and that is in combination with whatever sales they usually run.
Feed the haters to the alligators. Your way or the highway, see you later. DOD is the homie and Mr. Vader. If it wasn't for you, I would never made it. Whole city's covered by the cremated. Now they listen to what we were saying. Doesn't matter if the manufacturer or created. But now